Thank you, Jen. This is Drew Sanita. Unfortunately, my camera doesn't work, so maybe you're fortunate that it doesn't work. But again, I'm joined with Matt Ramsey, who heads up our development group at GFC, and Joel McDonald, who heads up our services. And what we're here today to talk about is uh, how we're approaching helping our SL clients continue to move forward, whether staying with SL or transitioning out of SL to another product, or transitioning to SL and looking at Acumatica, which is the product that we've basically thrown our hat in the ring for the last 6, 7 years. So there's been a lot of confusion over, especially the last couple of years, with what's going on with SL, what's going on with Dynamics in general, Microsoft, what are they doing? Everybody's heard about end of life, what the dates are. January of 22, I believe it was, Microsoft basically announced that we're no longer, or they are no longer supporting Dynamics. And what does that mean? And really what it means is, or Dynamics SL, what it really means is that there's no more versions of SL coming out the door, no more cumulative updates of bug fixes coming out the door. And the last version is SL 2018, and the last cumulative update is CU 11. So if you're on that version right now and that cumulative update, you're as far as you're going to go. If you're not, and you have support or you've been paying your annual maintenance, you still have an opportunity to move to SL 2018 CU11. If you're not on annual maintenance, you're basically wherever you are now, that's where you're going to be. And from a standpoint of moving forward and using your system, the old adage, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You can continue on your system indefinitely with one caveat: as long as the technology doesn't get beyond what your version of Dynamics SL can handle. And we've been providing a lot of services lately where we're moving clients in the version they're on to the newest, latest, and greatest technology that system will run on. And they're basically doing that so they can get maybe 3 or 4 more years out of their system because they don't want to move yet. Then we have other clients who they're already looking at new systems, whether it be what we support, Acumatica, or other products that are out there. And there's quite a few products out there. So what we're trying to do today is just basically provide information on options and what we recommend or what we feel are the best ways to move forward. So perfect. So what I was just talking about, end of support options. There is a date out there of July of 2028. And there's been a lot of questions about what that date is. And there's a lot of confusion because Microsoft doesn't even publish what that date's all about. But what we've been able to gather is Microsoft will supply security patches out until July of 2028 for environments that SL 2018 CU11 can run on. That's the only thing we can figure out. I mean, I've been talking to a lot of other vendors out there, and there's like a 400-page document, and there's one page with a couple lines in it to allude to that. But other than that, there's really nothing left that Microsoft is going to do. So again, pretty much maintenance is over with, versions are over with, and bug fixes and all that are over with. So wherever you are, we can certainly help you move forward, but there's nothing left coming out the door from Microsoft. So with that, a lot of our clients, again, are asking us to support them for the long haul with the product they're on, whatever version of SL. And we have quite an experienced team to take care of that. And we're equipped to do it. So if you're looking to stay on it, we can certainly help you. If you want to move to another product, we also provide services, really transition planning and search. So if you're searching products, so you need us to help you line up demonstrations or what have you of different products and options that are out there. And then we have what's our bread and butter now, which is transitioning to Acumatica. And we are more than happy to talk to you about that if need be. So why did GFC choose Acumatica? One of the things that, and I guess everybody knows this, change is tough. And we have a lot of clients out there where they don't want to change for various reasons, but a lot of it is the staff doesn't want to change. It's a lot of pain points in doing that. People lose staff because of this change. So we looked at it and we said, what's the best approach here? Because we know eventually everybody's going to have to move somewhere. And we looked at Acumatica as probably one of the most familiar moves that you could do. And for a number of reasons, Acumatica is a familiar product. If we move forward to the next slide. Yeah. So this basically kind of lays the foundation of where Acumatica came from and why we felt it was probably a great choice for people moving off of SL. It's basically its foundation. It was built by the people that built Solomon, that is turned into SL. So when you look at Acumatica and you listen to the terminology of Acumatica and the workflows of Acumatica, it resonates that, wow, there's a lot of similarities in the product. Now, when I say similarities, it really is just familiarization with the environment. As far as changes to the product and things like that, there's been a huge investment with Acumatica to not only enhance the product with new functionality, new modules, basically make the product better, but they've also focused on looking at things that used to cause a lot of grief for clients and make those things easier. So in SL, you do it one way. They perfected it, and you do it a different way in Acumatica. And we can talk about a few of those items as we move forward here. Joel, if you want to go next. So Acumatica. You'll hear this from a number of different products if you've been looking around, cloud, born in the cloud, everything else. Acumatica truly was born in the cloud. It was built to be a cloud product. It wasn't something that was an on-premise product and they twisted it around and now voila, it works in the cloud. This was basically built for the cloud. It's totally mobile. At the term they use, access from anywhere at any time on any device. You can have your phone, as long as you have internet service, you can get on Acumatica. It looks, feels like Acumatica. Joel, if there's folks that need to see it at some point in time, we can probably show a little demo of it today, mobile, yeah. Or we can certainly, have follow-up sessions with those that are interested. From an infrastructure standpoint, it's a SaaS model or a private cloud model. So really, from an IT standpoint, there's not a lot of heavy lifting there. One of the things that Acumatica has done, because it's an ever-evolving product, is they leverage modern technology. So what I was saying earlier with SL, we will help you put it on technology and hope it works, basically, or we'll get it to a level where it will work, but then you're not going to go any further. Acumatica is always cognizant of the fact that modern technology keeps on changing, and they're going to keep on changing with it. The user interface and the user experience is one of the big pluses with Acumatica. And Joel will show a little bit of this later, but I don't know how many of you have called either GFC or another VAR and said, geez, we don't like the screen the way it looks, or we don't like the menus. We need help with adjusting, moving things around. Can you help us customize that? There is so much in Acumatica now where the user drives that. We don't even have to get involved. And we'll show you a little bit of that. And then Matt can really talk about the OpenAI and integrations, but I will bring up this point. If you've been working with GFC and you have third-party systems out there that we've built we've built integrations for, or we built customizations to tie things in, we're doing that all the time with Acumatica. So what you have now with SL, you'll be able to have the same with Acumatica. Okay. I want to move forward on.
Yep, I'm out. Just didn't quite listen to me there.
All right. So one of the big things with Acumatica also is the way they price. Now, if you remember, if you've asked for users in the past 15 years, additional users to your system, at SL, you had the $2,950 standard user, and you had the $3,950 project enhanced user. And you keep on adding users, you keep on getting dinged with those prices. What Acumatica does is they say you can have as many users as you want in the system. What they look to is they try to figure out, and we help them do it by asking these questions of these 8 points. What are the monthly counts for these items that are on the screen? And if you said my AR invoices, I do 500 AR invoices a month, and I do 400 bills a month, and that's all we count. Well, the number is 500. It's the single highest number in the count. And they base your environment size on that number. And that's how they price it, is by that environment size. And so as long as you keep to that environment size, you could add 500 users and it wouldn't matter. You just keep on adding. So it is a unique pricing model. There's a whole lot of different layers to it, and we can discuss this at any point in time, whether you want to ask a question about it today or in the future. Okay, so one of the things, and I'll be turning this over to Matt in a second. One of the things we did is we said, okay, well, Acumatica does a pretty good job at providing comfort levels in a transition of somebody coming from SL to Acumatica. And again, we can discuss all the different things that are out there, but the UI, the user interface itself is a big one. But we looked at it and we said, what other nice things would people, especially SL users, like that we could put into Acumatica that would make life easier if you're transitioning over? And we've done a number of these. And Matt, I'll let you take this from here.
Okay, great. Thank you. Matt Ramsey, I'm a partner at Galeforce Partners, head of software development services. And I'm just going to show you a little about what we've done with current Dynamics SL clients that we had moving over to Acumatica, and how we brought over some historical data for them. And, as we know, bringing over historical data is always a chore. So we believe we've streamlined it to basically it's something we built in that you would add on to your Acumatica SaaS product sale. And then you could be able to see SL data within your Acumatica system. So let me share and show you that. Joel, you have to unshare. Thank you.
Yep.
Can anyone see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay.
There we
So
go.
this is Acumatica. And what I'm going to show you is what we did with the historical migration of SL data to Acumatica, to the Acumatica Cloud product. So I'm going to start with, and by the way, we did like vendor and customers, projects, GL accounts, or the GL Tran table, which is your transactions in SL, in inventory. So I'm going to show you a few of those just so you get the idea of how it works and how it's integrated in Acumatica. And what's nice about this is if customer calls you, or a vendor, you're talking to a vendor on the phone, you can show them all their information back to SL information within Acumatica. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to pull up, obviously this is demo data. So I'm going to show you how we kind of brought this together. So we added a custom field that we call Legacy ID. The reason we call it Legacy ID is because it could be Dynamics GP, could be other products as well. But this one is for SL. So here's the SL vendor, because you may want a new vendor ID for your SL vendor, for your Acumatica vendor, or maybe a new numbering system or something. So either way, you have the choice. And then you can keep the old one, and this is what's going to tie the data together. So if I go to the vendor legacy data and I pull up that it was AA Services, which was the new Acumatica vendor, you'll see we have Acumatica data, right? That's been entered directly into Acumatica. And here's your historical SL information. Here's all your bills that were are still in SL, but we brought them over into Acumatica as well. And you can also click on this show applications, and it blows it out into, payments and credits and whatever is associated with those bills. So what I'm going to show you now is, I'm sure you're all familiar with this, the SL product. So I'm going to show you in vendor maintenance. Documents, how just to confirm that it works. So here is a voucher 50. Looks like there's a check and a discount. So if you go in here, sorry, I'm just going to move this thing out of the way. If you go in here and I pull this up, we go to voucher 5049. There's your payment, and there's an adjustment of $9.90. Now you can also drill into these. And this is all your what they call AP transactional information as well. So not only do we have the document, the payments, the adjustments, but we have all the transactional stuff in Acumatica as well. And going back to the actual Acumatica data, you can drill into this as well. And this is just standard Acumatica drill through from our custom screen. So you don't have to leave the screen to look at both. You can pull it up in either one through our custom screen. And to show you that and this is the same setup with customers, just to show you that it's very similar. So once you learn one, you'll know the other. Legacy ID. This is SL, Legacy Customer ID. This is the screen with show applications as well. Pick a customer who was tied to that Legacy SL Customer ID, and it'll show you the same thing, all the payments with the drill throughs into Acumatica or into SL data within Acumatica. We've also done this with projects. So let me pull up a project here. This is the beauty of Acumatica is you can search and move around anywhere. So here's a project, and we have again legacy ID, common theme here. CO 23000. That's what it is in SL. So I go into the project, our project screen. I can pull this one up. And this is what they call project transaction table in SL. And here's all the data. There's obviously a lot of data. And as Joel will show you, a lot of columns that maybe you don't need, but we just brought everything in so that you have the choice. And in these screens, you can pick and choose whatever you want to see. And Joel will show you that later. Unlike in SL, you'd have to have someone customize that screen. And again, we did the same with the chart of accounts, where this account 11,000 is assigned to legacy ID 1191, your SL account. So now you can go in here in our custom screen, pull up 11,000. There's your SL account that it was, and it'll show you all the GL transactions for that account in Acumatica. So that is our migration tool that we use, that we have built so that it helps people to transition the necessary data outside of the balances, which you're going to bring over anyways in a traditional move. This brings over transactional data that you can view for any of your customers or internal, and you can report off all this too in Acumatica with the generic inquiries and reporting tool. So you have access to all this data within Acumatica, not just through the screens, but through reporting. So I want to show you another thing as well that we do a lot of work with. It's called Power BI. And the beauty of Power BI is whether it's Acumatica, Salesforce, Paylocity, DocuWare, doesn't matter. You can take many systems, disparate systems, and tie them together into a report in Power BI. And there's many levels. There's Power Desktop. There's a report builder as well. And you can all present all this in what's called Power BI Services, which is an online service that your management team could have access to. They just go to a URL. All the reports are there for them, and they can run them on their own, export to Excel and so forth. But I just wanted to show you one thing on this report or dashboard that I built. Is it shows a way you can slice and dice data across many what they call visualizations. So you have your chart here, you have all your data and your customers. So if I click this, it's going to show all customers for 2015-05. I can click on this and show it multiple periods, as you see how they're all dark. So now we have 1505, 1509, 1601 across all customers. I can pick a customer or two or as many as I want, and it'll show you. And this data dynamically changes to whatever I'm picking in my slicers. You can look at this data on its own, do what you want to it, and you can even have the ability, if you have someone more technical, add custom columns to this, custom calculations, and so forth. And to show you the background, which is the report modeling, getting a little more technical here, but report modeling, this shows you how I was talking about disparate systems into one unified reporting tool. So these are all from Acumatica, which is online. This table here, the customer table, is from Dynamics SL, which is on-prem. And as you see, as I showed you earlier in Acumatica, the legacy ID, right? And against the customer ID. And that was just exactly what I was showing you on the screen. So if we just bring over the keys in the Acumatica, we can tie all these systems together And just to show you one more thing about the data sources, meaning where we're getting the data from, OData is a way of connecting to an online cloud product. And as you see here, I'm connecting to my local SL, which is the demo data, SL demo app 60, and combining them together. You could have Salesforce in here. You could have DocuWare, PaperSave, whatever, bringing them all together into a one reporting tool for management or just any daily process. So that's what we've done with Acumatica and other products to show how you don't have to bring over all your data. You can just bring over what you need for your everyday, daily tasks. And then you can use reporting tools to view the data without paying somebody to bring it over into Acumatica or any other product.
Thanks, Matt.
Sure.
Joel, we got,
There you go.
yeah.
There we go.
Next slide. Okay, so and just in one quick thing on what Matt was talking about, again, if clients are coming to us, or even if they're not clients, are coming to us to help them find a new solution, or if they're looking to go to Acumatica, the things that Matt just showed you provide, ease of movement to Acumatica. And, it doesn't mean that you have to throw away all of the systems that you have out there. If SL is the target, you're trying to upgrade your accounting system, your ERP system, but you love all the other products that you're using, PaperSave, CCH for fixed assets, or what have you, you can continue to use those products. Now, fixed assets, we might say to you, Acumatica has embedded fixed assets, so that's probably something you want to transition. But PaperSave or any other product, if you have trust products that you're using or whatever, we have the ability to integrate, to pull data, to report on that data. And the big thing with our tool to bring data over and embed it within Acumatica, so you don't have to keep SL up and running. Your IT group is going to love that, because they don't have to keep SL up and running in the closet for the next 7 years for tax purposes or whatever. You can bring all that data in to the Acumatica tables, and then you can access it from there. So you basically can shut your old servers off. You might want to keep them around, but you can shut them off. You don't have people running back and forth. They can just look it up right on the screen. Other things that we've done, and some of these might be pertinent to an SL user, and some might not. In SL, there is the functionality of tying your account and sub-account together to form combinations or restrictions, where say the cash account, your 1000 account, can only be used with sub account 0000 whatever, or expenses, a marketing expense could only be used with the marketing sub accounts or whatever. That is not a function right out of the box with Acumatica. So we actually built that. We built that for a couple of clients. Period to post. When Joel shows you Acumatica, you'll notice one thing. The date you put on, say, your voucher or your bill, the date of the bill will trigger the period to post. So in Acumatica, I put in 07/01/2024, and we're on a fiscal calendar in Acumatica. It's going to default to 07/24. In SL, if you haven't closed June yet, it's going to default to 06/24. So we've created this little functionality that we can embed in Acumatica, so it works the same way as SL does. So you might like it, or you might want to get away from the way it works with SL, but at least you have a choice. We've also built a pay-on-pay function within Acumatica, because in SL, I don't know if you use pay on pay or not, but if you do, we've built it for Acumatica. And then on the flex billing front, SL is extremely strong on the project side of things, and flex billing is a very unique way that SL does it with the reporting and the flex bill forms and all that stuff. We've actually taken into account how some of that stuff works in SL, and we've brought it over to Acumatica because Acumatica didn't work that way. So, we're constantly trying to find things that make life better in Acumatica. And if a client client really wants something that was over in SL that they don't find in Acumatica, we can build it. So with that, I believe, Joel, we were going to take some Q&A and take a look at a few things in Acumatica.
Yeah, I've logged in, and one of the pieces, even before we asked the audience for some questions, is you talked before about the AP voucher bit, Drew.
Oh, yeah.
I don't recall if that's a question that came in ahead of time, Jen, or not.
Yeah, I thought it did. I thought it did come in, but from an SL user standpoint, one of the biggest complaints on the AP side has always been, okay, I put a voucher in the system, then I realized that I got to put a debit adjustment in to get rid of it, or it wasn't the right amount, so I put a debit adjustment in to reduce it. And then I have to go, if I want to tie that debit adjustment with the voucher, I got to go cut a zero check. So I actually got to go through the check process. And that's been a big pet peeve of most of the people that use SL. So in Acumatica, Joel can show you how you don't have to do that anymore. It's a very simple process in here. And that's one of the things that Acumatica looked at and said, wow, this is a big pain over in SL. We'll fix it now. Instead of people asking for it, we're just going to fix it. So
let's see if I'll pull that together, Drew. And I've logged into an Acumatica demonstration environment, and not unlike similar to the one Matt shared with us earlier. In this particular case, I started in a dashboard. So as clients may graduate into some of the components and features on a Power BI, when I'm just looking in Acumatica, there's built-in dashboards that we as Galeforce extend our customers, clients, and also make a key point of transferring that knowledge on how to do that yourselves, how to build key performance indicators that I can drill into, how to have diagrams and charts, how you may want to pull and identify things that are actionable, things that you want to work on. One of the items that Drew, you mentioned specifically, bills and adjustments, an AP bill where we've got a debt memo from our vendor. And taking advantage of the browser, I can have multiple tabs open ahead of our session. Don't think I have time to have our list of our bills out here. And sure, I can see a couple things here. As Matt mentioned earlier, we can customize and configure these, which I'll come back to in just a moment. But I want to get straight to your question first, Drew. If I have this open bill from this office supply place that I've indicated we're going to get a debit adjustment for, actually click on it to open it up. And we'll see that this bill is released from an SL perspective. Can't do much with it. Well, I could pay for it. I can choose to say, actually reverse it. And notice my transaction type in Acumatica, which is a bill here, will move over and create a new document within the bills and adjustments space of Acumatica called debit adjustment. Here's my vendor, pick that original date. I could leave it at that, or I could change it to today. And aligning with the period of post, it said, yep, if you're saying it's October, I assume you want that in the accounting bucket of October. With permission and an open period, I could change that. In this case, it has brought the details over for me. And it is actually looking to apply that as well. I'm going to remove the hold here, and I will release this. And I can actually apply that directly here versus I can click the auto apply piece here, looks out to see what's there and matches those up for me. Actually, let me hit the apply button, excuse me. One other step here. It looks out here to say we have this debit from our vendor. Who should we apply that to? Which document? And we look out at those bills and see that bill that's out there for that $110, match those up, and simply release this. I don't need to do a phantom check run for $0. I may have adjusted that debit memo to be a partial debit, apply it to that bill. When we go back to that bill, I can go the long way of going to payables, bills and adjustments, or take advantage of a most recently used feature in Acumatica. I can see what's the thing you just closed that you typically want to take a look at. I'm going to go back and look at that bill from that vendor, and we'll see a couple things happen to it. The balance is now 0, and I can see that this bill from September was satisfied or settled with a debit adjustment on October 9th, and my balance is now 0. Does that sound a little easier, Drew, than the frustrations folks have had over the years from an SL perspective?
Yeah, I think that makes life a lot easier. And there's there's a lot of that type of thing in here. It's even on the credit and the invoices and credit memos and things like that.
There's parallels, the inverse of that over on the receivables world.
And just to bring up you use the reverse type thing. Just when you're thinking about GL and stuff like that, there's actually corrections. You can actually correct journal entries. You can do all sorts of things there also.
Well, while we're here, I want to revisit a point you've made from that usability and that Matt referred to as some of the options we have to personalize this. We may choose to add or remove fields, may choose to move them around. I might decide that I want that vendor's invoice number, this reference field. I'll use my mouse and just drag it over there. I might say, let me put the project description over there. That's now personalized to me. For Drew's view or Matt's view, it looks different. It looks the best way they need to from a working standpoint. Matt also brought up earlier this field chooser option, the column configuration in Acumatica, where we can do some more things in bulk. I might decide that I actually am not doing any retainage. I'll move that off. I'll move this off. And I'll move that project code right up by the project description. I can as well, I do want to know who's the last person who touched this and when did they make a change to it? And click OK. And now my screen layout has changed, it's adjusted, it's available for me to work with. Acumatica and I did that without a programmer.
Yeah, and just to the point, this works this way for not only screens that are lists of bills, but actually if you go into a single bill, the entry screen.
Yeah. Click, I'll get that to open up again for us, Drew. We have those same capabilities here, where I may choose to indicate that I don't want to see a cost code for some reason. But I would like to see if I'm doing a deferral and I'm recognizing this cost over 12 months or 6 months, whatever it might be. And I want to see that column right there. I can click OK. I've now adjusted and personalized my screen. Now, I will say with permission, and if you think you know best, Drew and Matt will chuckle at me saying that, and I have permission, I can share my column configuration, which says, I've rearranged this. This is how I believe is the most efficient way for our team to work on this. I'm going to push it out to everyone else or to a subset of folks. They could personalize it after that, but I may set that default that rather than Acumatica thought the sequence was such a way, we believe this is a better way for us to work. And that's all done again without a developer, without programming, without customization. The power of that configuration and usage here in Acumatica. One other piece from a usability standpoint I'd like to touch on is the concept of Acumatica of a side panel. That rather than having pop-up windows or other pieces, and suddenly our screen is as busy as our desks used to be with real paper, is we can split the screen. And I can also click a side panel here in a tool, in the inquiries configurable by users, to see the bill screen. So I see this bill here, and if I click down one more, it changes to be context sensitive to be that bill from American Refrigeration. I can choose to say, American Refrigeration, really? Let me look at the vendor record. If I have permission, I can now go directly into vendor maintenance, or it might be read only. And I can see that information about that vendor there. Again, moving back up to this one, I can see that there. I can go right to an inquiry screen, and it will present that kind of report right there. Inquiry screen, I guess, in this case. Or I may run an actual Acumatica report where I've indicated I want to run the AP aging report as of right now for the vendor on whatever bill I picked. In this case, I think they may only have one thing open, but the ability there to generate those, have those visible for you in real time right there. I can choose to take over the screen with the sidebar. I could then email this out to someone. I could kill a tree or not. And again, I can shrink this and resize this as needed. You say, oh, let me get back to my big list and just collapse that. One other point you may see as well are the various filters. Matt earlier searched for some projects. It started with CSTR. I may come over here and say, let me find everything that starts with bonafide. Or I might actually say, I'd like to see a summary of these. How many bills do we have by vendor? And I may choose to say, I would just like a pivot table. And I'll call it bill count pivot or something like that. I can choose to be selfish, keep it for me, or share it. And as I share that, for those folks who've worked in pivot tables, whether they're in Power BI or Excel, I may come here and say that I would like to have the vendor name here, and I'll go ahead and get a reference number. I scroll down right there, and it is set by default to do accounts. Let me just see what that looks like. I can see, yep, there we go. I might want to make that a little more readable and choose to do something like make the name a little wider so I can actually read it. And I may choose to say, I'd like to see this by year. So I'm going to look at the date on this document, and I'm going to say, let's go get the the year. I'm curious what this will look like, and I can now look out here and see by vendor the count of documents by year. And I've done that directly here. It's real time and available for you as we go through things.
And it's important to note that you can shoot this right out to Excel.
Yeah, as well.
Yeah.
So I took your question, Drew, and your point about the applying a bill adjustment to a bill directly here and eliminating that need for the fake check runs and making our aging look a little cleaner than instead of leaving those all things sitting out there. Jen, are there other questions in the chat? I haven't jumped over to take a look at that yet.
Yes, there's a couple out there, Joel.
Okay.
Somebody had a question about what do you mean by open APIs?
So application programming interface. Can I talk to other systems? And Matt alluded to that a bit earlier, where Acumatica can talk interactively with other systems. And Matt, perhaps you may even share an approach for something like DocuWare, which a number of SL clients have utilized to scan and code some bills and then push those into SL. Perhaps share how Acumatica's open structure lets it talk and share data with other systems.
Sure. Yeah. So Acumatica has an open API, meaning it's open to other systems, obviously secure. everything's security driven. And they have what's called an endpoint, not to get too detailed, but that's basically it exposes all the objects in Acumatica, you know, accounts, vendors, customers, projects, everything. And you can can allow with security encrypted connection from another system into Acumatica. And for instance, Joel talked about DocuWare. So you could have DocuWare push data into Acumatica. You could, what we've done is we've created on the Acumatica side a call to DocuWare. So we go out to DocuWare and we pull, we loop through what's called cabinets in DocuWare, and we pull the needed information we want. We bring it into a screen in Acumatica, and we did this for one of our clients. They review the data, they submit, or you can have this automatically scheduled as well, and it creates an AP bill voucher in Acumatica. So now there's no reason for them to type it in, bring it over in Excel, import it, or anything else. It just happens whenever they want it to happen. And then they review the AP bill and post it or release it.
And the benefits of those interfaces like that and that authentication, like from a user perspective and what screens or forms that profile might access is, that's maintained and supported going forward. I'm thinking of the DocuWare one, which we've done for a couple clients. So it's gone through a number of upgrades, and I don't think you've had to change anything along the way, which is
Correct. Yeah. We also did
different than past
Salesforce.
lives. Yeah.
Yeah, we did Salesforce as well. So Salesforce, you'd go into Salesforce and you would allow a connection from Acumatica, and that brings it together again, encrypted, so it's secure. And then you can pull and push data across Salesforce to Acumatica, vice versa. We've done that as well, and many others, but those are just two. And it's much easier than the old way where SL was on-prem, and there really was there's no API, so you had to custom write everything. Now that there's APIs, it's actually easier. There's less coding because they're built so that you can write communications between them. The old way, there wasn't. You almost had to build the actual communication, the API itself. Hopefully that answers the question.
No, hopefully that answered the question of that benefit. Drew mentioned, born in the cloud, whatever, but built from the ground up to say we expect to interact with other systems, whether it's Acumatica's document imaging recognition solution, or something like a DocuWare, Avalara on a sales tax world, credit card providers that provide those connections from an e-commerce, or credit card processing perspective. They've just come built in and part of Acumatica and that ability to communicate across various solutions like that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
One more
Jen, what else?
question
Yeah.
came in about can you talk a little bit more about reporting in Acumatica? I know, do you have to have Power BI?
You do not. So the Power BI, we crawl, walk, run. If I look at standard reporting, I ran the AP aging there from there. Throughout Acumatica, each of the workspaces, modules to folks in the SL world, there's a report section. From a usability standpoint as well, Acumatica looks to say, I'm going to minimize this to things you use most often, or I can show all and see all the pieces that are out here. So then I get a little tired looking down the list. And I may run something like AP aging. We do have parameters, and Acumatica uses a built-in report designer, not unlike Crystal Access in that perspective, that I may choose to run something and I'll say, sure, run it in detailed, and I'll simply run that report. The ability to have a classic kind of report like this exists. What we see is clients moving away from the idea of reports. The number of controllers and CFOs say, no, I'll do something like the aging here at a period end if I need to provide it to an external source. Operationally in real time, I'm using an inquiry. For example, I may look at this vendor aging detail, and I can see every document out here, and I've chosen to age it out in weekday buckets because I want to think about my cash. I may actually make that a pivot and see What do I owe by vendor by week? In receivables, we had one that's actually a summary to start with that then they drill into. So with our clients, we tend to include inquiries that we've built and provide in the past that other clients are going to work with. In this example of receivables, well, I can run a customer details, vendor details we saw earlier. I may choose to just click on an amount, and I'll click on that one. And it takes me to another screen with the supporting documents that make up that amount. I can see totals. I can work with that. I could create a pivot table. So I have that option instead of historically pushing reports out. It become a pull, and that our users and management teams, if you want to know what it is, go get it because it's available for you to consume.
Yeah, the
The
GIs,
other,
sorry,
go ahead, Matt.
Joel. The generic inquiries that Joel's showing you are kind of like, what were they called in SL, Drew? The quick view or something?
Quick query, yeah.
Quick query. Yep.
Yeah, so it's similar to that. And the other beauty is talking about the reports, you notice on the reports there was, the blue underlined fields. You can drill from a report, which you can't do in SL and Crystal, right into wherever that data came from, which is pretty cool because the report's not outside the system. Where Crystal report, you run the report, then you got to go back into the system and look and find it. This you can drill right in.
If we look at this and say, oh, let's look at that office service company we were working with earlier, double clicking on that takes me right to the vendor. From here, I may drill into other pieces, or if my report is in detail, which are flags, choices on these reports, I can go through the example that Matt mentioned of right into the document. Mary, I'll just double click on this and see what is this. And here is that actual form and screen, that actual bill that it related to, which may or may not have a scanned copy of the invoice there. So that's a really good point, Matt. One other element from a reporting standpoint, I'm going to go back to that dashboard that I was on when I first logged in, and the note that these are actionable. I may look at this and say, I'm curious, who are these people that are over 90 days? Let me just click on that in my chart and have that change my list over here. I may unclick that. I may choose to click on this part of the diagram, and it will take me to that inquiry listing and show me these are the 26 documents that make up that 3.4 million. The credit department has some work to do. But I've gone from a summary dashboard piece into a listing, which I can then click and open the invoice separately or use the side panel as I scroll through these list of folks that we really need to get on from a payment perspective. Hopefully that answered the question, the myriad of choices we have available and not needing Power BI. The wealth of pieces in Acumatica to go from a dashboard, pivot tables within the inquiries themselves to sort and filter are really pretty dramatic. Drew, you had some more.
Yeah, and I just wanted to bring up for the SL users that are using FRX Management Reporter, there is a reporter in the general ledger. They call it ARM reporting. What is it? Analytics Reporting Manager or something like that. But it's based on the same FRX Management Reporter type concept, row, column, tree. The nice thing about it, again, the drilling in is superior to what we're used to with FRX Management Reporter, and it will keep on drilling through. There's a lot.
I've gone from a summary to this, and I'm curious about whatever's in that account, and I'll just click on it and have it then proceed into an actual account details inquiry form in Acumatica. Then I may go back to the beginning of time here and adjust that and be able to work with those transactions and push into the invoice or the GL journal that it was part of.
And one of the neat things here with and this is across the board, like Joel was showing you dashboards, and there's a number of dashboards that come with the system out of the box. We supply GIs on top of that being general inquiries in the system. There's the standard reporting like you used to in SL, the APAR, all your operational reports. And then on these ARM reports or the financial reports, the account class that you're used to on the SL side of things that really doesn't do anything. In Acumatica, the account class actually means something, and it will drive the out-of-the-box reports. If you're using the account classes that come out of the box, you put your chart of accounts together, you identify each account with the specific account class, say it be travel or whatever. The report will actually work right out of the box because the account classes are what drives it. So it's pretty neat. And then if you want to add your own account classes, you just add them to the report, and you put them in the report where you want, and it works great. So there's a lot of nice features.
Thank you, Drew. Hopefully that answered that question on reporting and an idea of scratch the surface on some of the capabilities and options that are there in Acumatica.